Mandalorian still rolls along, but not as well as before because, well, his ship is still badly damaged, and the repairs he had in last episode, well, he didn't get his money's worth, no. So he decides, hey, I need to look up some old pals that can help me out. And, of course, that brings us back to characters from last season. So Apollo Creed and Gina Carano or come back and help him out, but they need a little help too. Seems they've cleaned up the planet they're on, and Gina is now the marshal of this village, and we see her in action. And the thing about Gina Carano is this is one of these times where you actually cast a woman who is believable in these action scenes. Of course, Gina Carano's history of MMA fighter and all that greatly helps her here and gives her quite the advantage. She has the physical presence that obviously advances the credibility of her performance here, where she's taking on quite a few guys and wiping them all out. Plus, she uses a gun, so that's nice. But you know this scenario we see all the time, where we have a lot of different shows and films where you'll have this toothpick-limbed supermodel come in and beat the crap out of several Navy SEALs, even ones that look to be 300 pounds of muscle, 6'7", and she punches them and they collapse. It's just not believable. In scenarios like Wonder Woman and magic, and even in science fiction where there's some explanation for it, they're an alien or she's got some cybernetic implants and that sort of thing. Okay, fine. There's an effort there to explain it. But more times than not, it's just not there, and they put them in situations of being a CIA agent or something like that. And it's just so stupid. But with Miss Carano here, she just has, she's got it all, really. She's got the physical presence and strength and within her body and appearance there, and yet at the same time she's beautiful and feminine, and it's just great. Of course, Twitter hates her for a number of probably that's it. I mean, the one woman who can really pull this off, and they don't like her, and of course she won't bend the knee to the cancel culture of our time. All about much ado about nothing. Clearly a terrible first world problem, which if it continues to exacerbate, we won't be a first world for very long. But it's all very sad. I love her. I think she's fine in this. There are rumors of her getting a spinoff series. I'm not sure completely if she can carry her own series. She's adequate in her acting here, and a lot of that is rather brief, but I'd be willing to take a chance on it and see how she does. I think she works perfectly well here as one of the characters of the Mandalorian series, and of course the narrative they appear to be tying in with the Galactic Civil War that happened in the original trilogy. So basically that's the plot. Mandalorian needs help, needs to get his ship repaired, and needs somebody better at it, and he goes back. Apollo Creed sets him up, but he's got this problem with this base, so they go to it with the purpose of turning its own reactor core against it to destroy it and get rid of that problem and make it damn well clear he doesn't want any Imperial war criminals taking up residence on his planet. So that's what they do, and the fish guy that Mandalorian put in carbonite shows up. He still has to pay off his debt to Apollo Creed. And so then you get a lot of the basic character templates of Star Wars. So you have this rogue band going up against this formidable force, which looks very Death Star-like as they're going through it. And then you have the comical guy, which is the fish dude. And then you have your rogue band, and they're all capable and all this sort of thing. And it works. And it's all nice little nods here and there to past glories, and it's fun and all that. And but then you get into the overall narrative. Now, all along, Baby Yoda's very presence lends to what is the story, what is the subplot here of what's the I guess what's left of the Imperial remnants up to. Well, your best guess was right. Baby Yoda is clearly a clone. They wanted to utilize him. They're not quite capable of understanding the Force, but they do know it has something to do with midichlorians, and they're trying to reproduce that. And they were using Baby Yoda's blood in order to reproduce this and to have Force-wielding people, is my take on this. And it ends with, it appears that Moff Gideon is in charge of this operation. That would be Gus Fring. And looks like he's staring at a bunch of troops he's already got ready to go, who I guess have some ability with the Force. Now, you only get brief looks at what they find in this base's sort of lab here. And boy, it sure looks like one of those, what appears to be some experimental, I'm assuming is a clone, looks an awful lot like what becomes Snoke. So this could, I'm sure it's exactly what it is. This is tying into that idea, except doing a better job of explaining it. Whereas imagery and stuff is shown in The Rise of Skywalker to hurry up and slap and shoehorn in the story of what that was all about. And ultimately, I guess at some point they could conclude that that Palpatine in Rise of Skywalker was not the original Palpatine, and that he was a clone, and they were trying to bring it back so they could have the power of the dark side and restore the Empire as it once was. Because even though they still have a lot of soldiers and military might, without Palpatine's influence, it's not going to be what it originally was. So they're trying to recreate that, and my guess is that's the plot of it all. But anything tying to those sequels is just going to leave a bad taste in people's mouth, even though the way the Mandalorian series is weaving it is a better structure and means by which to do that. It's still tying it to those turds. And so, I don't know. The rumors that floated around that they were going to utilize the world between worlds, and, and maybe they still will, and this will connect it to, the EU plot and that story about cloning Palpatine, and I don't know. But, I mean, it's sad because watching it play out, even this simplistic way as it unfolds is actual aspects of story where you didn't really get any of that in the Disney trilogy. It was the sequel, Disney trilogy. That's what it should be called. And everything's just slapped around. Oh, look, X-Wing fighters and stuff like that. And then, oh, look, Palpatine's alive. And, oh, Snoke was just a bunch of clones. And maybe, it's lazy slapped on stuff and shoehorned in. It doesn't work at all. So now clones do obviously play a significant role in the development of Star Wars. It was always there. The Clone Wars was referred to in the original trilogy, and then of course it was played out in the prequel trilogy, and then eventually, of course, over the years of the Clone Wars, which was basically all about the clone stormtroopers. But it stands to reason that this is an ability that someone would want to pursue, and that technology that was there, you just forget about it? I don't think so. So it's not like it's a terrible idea or bad in and of itself. On that, it was handled very poorly. But the ultimate problem of Palpatine coming back takes away from the narrative and story set up in the original trilogy, that this was, Luke and ultimately Anakin Skywalker's destiny was to destroy Palpatine, which he did, and it fulfills that prophecy. Going forward, they would have to come up with some other narrative or story still using these characters, but I kind of think that, that there was no sequel to Return of the Jedi. They would actually be a new saga that would involve those characters, but it would move on to something else, and Luke is like the old master. And that was the obvious take on it, but that it wouldn't involve just another continuation of the Skywalker saga as it was, because it was over. But that's not what they did. And so, it had Rise of Skywalker spelled that out more, or the sequel trilogy overall, because by the time you get to the third film, it's too late. This was a fake Palpatine, and he wasn't really up to snuff and all that. But I really don't want this connected to it. So I think it's a bad move on Mandalorian's part, even if they do it well. And that's the sad thing about it, because sequel trilogy just leaves a bad taste in the fandom's mouth over how badly that rolled out, and trying to pretty it up on the outside, and that way, Mandalorian, it's like so much of the novels and comic books trying to pretty this up, and it's just not going to work. So it's a bad position they're in. But I like the Mandalorian. The other people don't, and they're still rather turned off because of what Disney did to Star Wars. And so Mandalorian is looked upon as to somehow save it. I don't think it can. It can still be a good show, which so far, in my opinion, it is. But it really can't do that for Star Wars. And that's just a shame. So I don't see what else it could be. It's obviously a clone plot, but I don't, maybe they got some surprise in the works, but I think this follows into what leads to the whole First Order and all that. Granted, this will probably be told much better, no doubt about it, but I'm just not interested in the Disney sequel trilogy anymore. It was so bad, and you can't polish that turd. So, as for Mandalorian, hopefully it goes off in the other stories about the Mandalorian himself, his background, and the Mandalorians overall. Boba Fett and all that stuff could be cool. And so maybe it won't bother it as bad. And of course, Gus Fring's an excellent guy playing villains. And so we'll see how that turns out and all that. And of course, Baby Yoda remains cute. And Gina Carano is lovely. So yeah, there we go. All right, Mandalorian rolling along. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.